to Lead Pods, the official leadership podcast from USMB for pastors and church leaders, where our goal is to increase our impact together.
Hello, my friends. Welcome to episode 68 of the USMB Lead Pods, the final episode of 2022. So thanks so much for joining us today and for listening all year long. Today, I'm sharing a conversation with you that I had with Daniel Rodriguez. Daniel is a pastor in Nebraska, and he recently took over as the new Central District Minister. And there's just a lot of really cool things happening in the Central District. Daniel himself has a Hispanic background, and he's been involved with a few Spanish-speaking and bilingual churches. There's also more and more different cultures represented in the Central District, and we talk a lot about that, how that's kind of a new trend that he's seeing. And the Central District covers a lot of ground. Daniel's going to be working with churches that cover several states, and he himself has a pretty interesting story of how he got into ministry in the first place. And so I really enjoyed getting to know Daniel, learning more about his story and some of his hopes and dreams as he takes over this new position leading the Central District. So I think you're going to really enjoy hearing from Daniel as well. So let's take a quick break to hear from a sponsor, then we'll get right to a really great conversation with the new Central District Minister, Daniel Rodriguez.
USMB is partnering with immigrant churches through the new CORD program, and you can be part of it. CORD will provide biblical training around our confession of faith, assistance in establishing a stable place of worship, leadership development, and connection with like-minded congregations. USMB will partner for 3 years with up to 3 vetted congregations at a cost of $55,500 per church. Would you consider partnership through CORD? For more information or to donate, visit www.usmb.org/CORD-program.
All right, my friends, well, I'm looking forward to today's conversation. I'm excited to introduce you to, for those of you who don't know, or maybe get to know him a little bit better, Daniel Rodriguez. Daniel is the newly appointed Central District Minister. So Daniel, thanks so much for being with us today.
No, it's a great pleasure to be with you and be part of this conversation and be part of the USMB family as well. So thank you for the invitation.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's great to get to know you a little bit better. So kind of our goal for today, we were just chatting beforehand. We just want to kind of get to know you so people around the USMB family can get to know you a little bit, hear about the Central District, and maybe even kind of fill people in on what exactly a district minister is, because I think some people aren't exactly sure what that role is. But first, let's get to know you a little bit, Daniel. So tell us your story. Where are you from? How long you're currently in Omaha, right? How long have you been there?
So I'm from Mexico. It's called Ciudad Juarez. It's a border city with El Paso, Texas. So a lot of people know where El Paso is. So if you just look a little bit south, that's Ciudad Juarez. So I grew up there and I moved to the United States and because one of my aunts lived here in Omaha. So when I finished my middle school in Mexico, she wanted me to come to Omaha and do my high school here. And one of the goals was that I was going to come and learn the language and then go back to my hometown. One of the reasons was that we had in those years, we had a lot of missionaries that went during summer and they always lack translators. So in my mind, I'm thinking, well, if I go and study in Omaha with my aunt, I can learn the language. And then when I come back, I can serve the church as well. Being a translator for those missionaries and things like that. So that was kind of the goal. And so I finished my high school here. And then I decided to stay a little bit longer. And that's when me and my wife, we got engaged. So that was another big reason to stay here.
That's a good reason.
Yeah. So, and so I stay. And since the time we moved here to Omaha, I come from a Baptist background. So we had a little bit of a hard time trying to find a Spanish-speaking church in Omaha. We didn't have many churches in those years. So that's when we got plugged in with Agua Viva, an MB church. So we didn't understood really well what was MB all about, but we love it. We love the theology and how they do church and things like that. So me and my family, we became members there. I met my wife there. We got married there, and then I started pastoring the church 2009. That's when I started pastoring. So I was at Viva for 12 years, being the pastor there until just recently when I switched or transition to this position of being the Central District Minister. So that's a little bit of my story there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, that's awesome. So even from a young age, it sounds like ministry was kind of on your heart. You were wanting to kind of help the missionaries. Was ministry or pastoring, was that kind of your long-term goal, or how did that kind of come to be?
Yeah, that was when I came to the United States. So my family, I grew up in a Christian home. So my dad and my mom, they were always really involved in the church, as well as my brother. So I guess my brother, at some point, he even wanted to be a pastor. So just because we grew up in that environment where if you go to church, you need to serve. And my parents volunteered to do church planting, and they volunteered to visit churches. And in Mexico, our home church, they had a church plant up in the mountains. So every month the pastor will ask, I need volunteers to go this month visit that church. And a lot of people didn't want to go, but my parents, they always wanted to go. So,
Okay.
I mean, we grew up in that environment. So when I came to Omaha, I mean, the Hispanic church in the United States is very different from Mexico church, or
Okay.
even Central America church. It's a different culture. So I saw the need that we needed more people that really wanted to be full-time serving God. And that's when I felt the call to be a pastor. And even when we were in dating with my wife now, and I told her, I told her, in the future I want to be a pastor. So I just want you to know that I want to be a pastor. I feel like God is calling me to be a pastor. So if that is something that you don't want to be married to a pastor in the future, just let me know now, because that's something that is in my heart. And it was great, because she's like, well, I pray for my husband, for my future husband, and the only requirement that I have is that he loves God. So I feel like if God calls you to be a pastor, I'm gonna support you. So she's been a big supporter of me being a pastor of the church. And so that's how I started. So I served in the youth group. I was the worship team leader. I was a Sunday school teacher, part of the elders, a moderator at some point of the church. So I was always involved. And so I feel like God was telling me, no, this is where I want you. And I was willing to do it full time. So that's how I started. The pastor that we had at that moment, he wanted to plant another church, and so he was going to move. So he asked the church, do you guys want to look for a pastor within the church, or you guys want to be looking outside of the church? And that's when my name came up to the people. We have Daniel, and you know him, and we were pretty young. We were in our third year of marriage. I was 22 years old.
Wow. Okay.
So we were really young, and that was kind of one of the fears that we have. Like, are we still too young to be the lead pastor of a church?
Yeah.
But God was behind everything, and the church voted, and they say, yeah, we want Daniel to be a pastor. And so that's how it all started. But we were really young, and we only had my son. He's now 13, so he was a month old when we started in the church. So
Okay.
yeah. So that's how I got my call to minister, and it's been great. A lot of learning, a lot of good experiences. So I'm really grateful. Yeah.
Awesome. In your church in Omaha, is it mostly Hispanic speakers? Is it bilingual, or what does that church look like?
So our Viva, it's a Spanish-speaking church, and it has been since they started. Now, in the last year, we tried to go a little bit more bilingual. Okay. Because our younger generation, especially youth and even the kids, English is their first language, and Spanish is the second language. So they'll learn better in English than Spanish. So we were trying to do a little bit more English for those generations, but because we're a Hispanic church, we're always having people coming new to the United States, and they don't speak English. Sure. So it's like we cannot move full to English because we still are going to have those families that are coming new to the United States, and they need their Spanish. So but we do a little bit of both. Some songs we sing in English and Spanish. The sermon is always translated to English, and we use the headphones. So people that don't speak English, they can just grab a headphone, and somebody's gonna translate for them and things like that. So we were going into that transition of a little bit more, doing a little more English. So but if you go to our youth group, you'll hear most things in English, just because it's their first language. So
well, that's cool. I feel like that's just a huge opportunity, right? Like that's a kind of a cool thing that you can reach kind of two different cultures in that way. And I think at least for me, whenever I think of Hispanic or Spanish speaking MB churches, a lot of them are in the LAM, the Latin American district. But are there others in the Central District that you are working with?
So we have Agua Viva it was our only Hispanic church. So about 13 years ago, we planted another Hispanic church here in Omaha. So it's
cool.
It's called Manantial de Agua Viva, which is spring of living water. So they wanted to keep the living water there.
Cool.
So we have another Hispanic church, and it's still a small church, and they're faithful. The pastor was from Agua Viva, and we sent him to plant a church, and they're doing good. So we have two Hispanic churches, and we're praying. We would like to see even more churches, and everywhere that I go, we see clusters of Hispanic people. So even in our rural areas, I have seen people like Hispanic people, and so I know there's a lot of opportunity to plan more Hispanic churches, and so we're gonna try to develop that a little bit more, because that's a need, and I think that's not only Hispanic churches, but like in the Central District, we have our Congolese churches, and then we have our Ethiopian churches, and it's like, the nations are coming to the United States, so it's a big field that needs to be reached. So we need to be willing to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's a lot of cool opportunities.
Yeah,
so I guess that's a good transition. So can you remind us, Central District, what states are you covering?
So it's Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, Montana, and then we have Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Indiana. So seven states. So that's
a lot of space.
Yeah, it's a lot of territory. So and so we're trying to build better relationships within the churches, and so we have clusters of churches. So like in the Dakotas. Some of our churches, they're like an hour away from each other, so they're not that far away. Like Sioux Falls, it's a city where we have I think we have 5 churches there, and they're within the same city. So Omaha, we have 4 churches here in Omaha, and cities like that where we have like sister churches really close to each other. So that's great, because it helps that relationship between the pastors and churches and how they can help each other. So, but yeah, it is a big territory, and a lot of rural areas. And it's still, we feel like our churches are doing great ministries. I was just a couple of weeks ago, I was in Harvey, North Dakota. So it's a small town. But I was talking to the pastor, and he's like, in our Awana program, I mean, we're pushing 100 kids tonight.
Wow.
So it's like, there's still in those small towns, a lot of great ministry opportunities. So we're grateful for where God have us, and we want to take advantage of that.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So I think we mentioned at the top here that you took this role August 1st, I think you said, after 12 years at your church. So can you tell us how did that transition come about? Were you ready for a change? How did that transition come about? I'm curious.
No, we were so just a little bit of context, I guess. So I've been part of the Central District, and I guess the in the same way that I wanted to be involved in church when I was younger, when I understand better what was MB and Central District and the conference and all that kind of stuff, I'm like, I want to be able to serve as well my conference. So I was really involved with church planting, serving the church planting committee in the Central District and other areas. So it was I think when Rick Eshba, the former district minister, he came and he's like, well, I want our pastors to be to have more training, continuing education, all that kind of stuff. So I never took any formal training. So I kind of took advantage of him. And I'm like, well, if you want our pastors to be more trained, I need training. So if you're willing to help me and pay my tuition, I'm willing to go to school. And so that's how it all started. I started to do my bachelor's degree in ministry. And that was kind of my first formal training that I had. And on top of that, the Central District was generous enough to say, I was a bivocational pastor. So I was doing part-time at the church and then part-time cleaning detailing cars. So that was kind of my other job that we had. And so they said, well, if you're gonna do the church and then detailing and then go to school, that's just gonna be too much.
That's a lot.
And so they offered to pay for part of my salary as well. So I did my 4 years of bachelor's degree, and then I kind of told them, I really want to do a master's. And say they supported me and they said, just go for it. And so I finished my master's degree just this past May.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
So, yeah, thank you. And so, but in January, me and my wife, we're praying and we're like, it's been almost 7 years that the Central District has been supporting us. And so we need to start thinking about like, what's the next step? I knew that I was going to be part-time still at the church, but I needed to find something else. And I didn't want to be like just a secular job. I wanted something that I could use my training. I went to school for 7 years and I didn't see it as a, like just to get a title, whatever, but it was more of, the tools that God allowed me to learn. I want to be able to serve the people. So I wanted to find a job where I could use those tools, And so we were praying back in January just for God to lead us and find a ministry position that we can still serve here in Omaha. And I applied in several places and it seems that all the doors were just closed, and then that's back in, I think it was early May when Rick Yeshua announced that he was gonna transition to a different position. So this Central District position opened up. And so I felt like, well, if God is closing all the other doors, maybe God is opening this one for us. But we weren't expecting it. We weren't like looking for it. It just happened, And so we pray a lot about it, me and my wife, and she's like, when I put in my application, they told me that there were other 2 candidates. So me and my wife were like, great, that's great, because if they have more people, we're probably not going to get shoes. We're still, even for this position, we felt like, well, we might still be too young. I mean, we're 36. There are other pastors with more experience, more age, and things like that. So, so we submitted the application and just praying to God, if this is your will, you're gonna lead everything, and if you decide that you wanna use our lives in that ministry, we're open. So, and that's how it happened. But yeah, it was God that took control of everything. We weren't expecting to be the Central District minister by the end of the year, or we weren't expecting for Rick to transition either. So we feel like it was a God thing. God was just preparing everything, and so that's how I ended up being the Central District minister. It's a great privilege, and I'm really humble. I'm really humble to be able to serve the pastors in the Central District, and it's been amazing, to be honest, just to visit the churches and the people, and you feel love. We were grieving a little bit, after 12 years with our Viva and the people, and we were grieving a little bit of moving and not being the pastor there. We still have the relationships and everything, but not being the pastor. But I'm learning to love the Central District family, just amazing people. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. First of all, I just want to applaud you, man. If you were doing 2 jobs and getting 2 degrees in 7 years with a family,
Yeah.
that's a lot, man. That's impressive that you were able to get that done.
Yeah,
So good for you.
thank you. Yeah. My wife, she was the one that started, like, you need to get more training, you need to learn more, and you need to be better prepared so you can be a better pastor. And so she's been really supportive of me. And so, yeah, I'm grateful for that. Thank you for that.
Congratulations. That's a huge accomplishment. So you kind of hinted at this, but maybe this would be a good time. Can you explain more what a district minister does for people who maybe aren't totally sure what that title means? You're kind of a pastor to the pastors in some way, right? But what is your actual job details look like?
Yeah, so that's kind of my main priority, even in the job description that I got from the Central District. And this might be a little bit different from other districts, maybe, but the main idea is that you want to be a pastor to the pastors. So kind of encouragement, prayer, support. You're there for them, and so I'm trying to build a better relationship with the pastors. For some of them, I already knew, and we have previous relationships just because I was in church planting. But still, that's something that I really want to build with the pastors. So if they're struggling, they have needs in their lives, either personal, that I can jump in and maybe help a little bit. I'm willing to do that. And then in the other ministry part of it, there are hardships and struggles in churches, and some that the pastor is the one that is going to feel all of those pressures and tensions. So I want to be able to have that communication with them, so I can help in some situations. If I can be of a person that I can come in and maybe help with deal with some of the things that goes on in churches. That's kind of my main responsibility. So I'm kind of on call from the pastors, like, what is it that you're going through, and how can I help you? So that's kind of my main priority. Other things is like developing tools for the pastors. So in the Central District, we're trying to focus a lot on continuing education for our pastors, so they can be well prepared, especially with the culture context that we're having in our days and all the pressure that we're getting from culture. How can we respond better in a biblical way, theological, sound way, so we can have our pastors ready to answer questions from the culture, and how to respond to those things that are just, they're hard. So we're working on that, and also the health of our pastors, so we're trying to put together a pastors retreat and things like that, so our pastors can have that refreshment from all the work that they do in their ministries and things like that. So that's kind of our focus right now. So yeah, that way of being pastor to the pastors, I'm trying to do it well for the well-being of our pastors. And if you have healthy pastors, you're gonna expect to have healthy churches. So and other things is like meetings, and I represent the Central District at the national level and some of the boards, and I also, Central District has a position for Tabor College and in the board there. So there are other responsibilities as well that comes with a position, but the main idea is how do we help our pastors? Yeah.
And obviously, your 12 years of experience comes in really handy in the Central District. So you know what pastors need, right? And you mentioned, culture is changing fast, and a lot of things are different today than they were for sure 12 years ago, even a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm curious, what do you see? Like, what are some of the biggest needs that you're seeing, even in your kind of early days in the role here? What do you think are MB pastors specifically in the Central District? What are their biggest needs, biggest concerns right now?
Yeah, so I think this is general. I don't think it's specific for the Central District, but after COVID, we feel like everybody is still isolated in some way.
Yeah, sure.
So because we had to go into isolation, and then we kind of stay there isolated. So I think our pastors, just that relationship with other pastors, and to understand that some of the things that you're going through, other pastors are going through the same thing.
Sure.
or maybe they already went through it and they can tell you or give you some kind of advice or words of encouragement that you're going to get through those things. So getting our pastors to be a little bit more open and talk to each other and have those kind of relationship and conversations and prayer moments. I think that's one of the things that I have sensed in this early time, where we feel I read it and I don't remember where, so I'm just gonna quote something that I'm not sure where I got it from, but
Okay, fair enough.
but it's like the being a pastor is one of the loneliest position that you can have, you know, because you feel like you have to be that strong leader of the church and everybody has the eyes on you, so you have to be strong all the time and you're supposed to be good all the time.
Yeah.
But maybe with other pastors, if you don't find the what you need in your congregation, because sometimes it's hard to open up with your own congregation, but you have a family of pastors around you that you can open up a little bit and say, you know what, maybe this is something that is going on in my life, or I need help with this. So I'm trying to work with our pastors so we can be more open a little bit, lower those defenses that we put up sometimes, and open up a little bit more and say, you know, can you guys pray for me? And I have a family of pastors, and they are the same as me, and God called us into the same position. And I love First Peter chapter 5, and Peter is talking to the fellow elders, you know, and he's telling them how they're supposed to be shepherding the flock of God. And at the end of the passage, he says, because the sheep of shepherds, and that's Jesus, you know. So we are shepherds and we are pastors, and we struggle with some of the same things, but we have a sheep shepherd that is taking care of us too. So just kind of reminding the pastors of those kind of things. So that's one of the needs that I see in a lot of pastors, that we might still be too isolated, and we need to come to each other and rely on each other. We're part of the same family, and we should be able to trust each other. Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned, you know, the post-COVID isolation, and I've heard it from a lot of people. There's a lot of research about this, that pastors are just exhausted, right? The past few years have just been so difficult. And so I think you're right. The more that we can get together and work together and resource each other, learn from each other, pray for each other, even just be friends with each other. Like, I think that's just so necessary right now. Yeah.
And I'm grateful because so far I've been on this job for 2.5-3 months, and the pastors, they have responded very well.
Good.
Like, we have our Zoom meeting once a month, and that's the purpose of that we can just get together and pray for each other and talk a little bit and things like that. And the response has been really well. So I'm really excited about pastors being open to work on this. So I'm grateful for the Central District pastors. So and just to make the other districts jealous, and I said this to them as well. So it's kind of like a joke, but I feel like in the Central District we have like the best pastors in the United States. So, and I'm sure the other DMs say the same thing, but but just I'm really grateful with the pastors that we have in the Central District. Great guys, and I'm sure all the pastors are the same. But you know, I'm just kind of putting the Central District on top of it.
Well, I'm not here in the Southern District. We might have to rally up our guys and come see what they have to say about that. No, that's great. Well, you mentioned already too, Daniel, that you've got obviously your home church in Omaha. There's Spanish speaking. You mentioned the Congolese and the Ethiopian churches. I guess, do you see is more bilingual, more multicultural churches? Do you feel like that's like, and as you're going to be in this leadership, hopefully for a while, do you see more of those kind of churches being in the Central District as well?
Yeah. So one of the things that I have seen is that, especially with the Ethiopian and Congolese, they're really open for the church planting idea. Like, we need to plant more churches, and I feel like they have even a closer relationship with their own culture. So for them, it's we know that people, and they're not believers, and they need to be followers of Jesus. So I feel like in a way we can learn a lot from them because they're not overthinking church planting.
Mhm. Yeah.
And sometimes I feel like other churches that we're overthinking too much church planting. And I'm gonna put myself as an example because I don't want anyone to feel bad about it. But even our Hispanic Agua Viva, when I was a pastor there, I mean, we only planted one church, and the church has been there for 28 years. So it's like we should have done better, you know. And there's a lot of Hispanic people, so there's a lot of people that need Jesus, and we have a lot of other Hispanic churches, and I'm just wondering why we didn't do it. So I think that, as more people come to the United States, different cultures come to the United States, we have to be ready and open to minister to those people. So so I understand that it takes resources and it takes timing and praying and all that kind of stuff. But maybe just the first step is just to be willing to be there and minister to those people. So I mean, what is it? 5 years ago, we didn't have any Congolese churches, right? And then in the last 5 years, now we have 4 Congolese churches in the Central District. So, and then we have another 3 Ethiopian churches. So even within the Central District, which is a rural district, if you want to call it like that, I mean, we still have those ethnic churches, and that tells you that people is everywhere. And we need to be willing to reach them. So I think we're proud to say that every time that we plant a church is a really good Bible church. So we should be planting even more churches because that's what the world needs, right? We need to share the gospel. So I'm hopeful that you know, in the next 5 years, we can have more ethnic churches in our district, and not only ethnic churches. I mean, we need all kinds of churches.
Sure.
So, but I seen a little bit of the, you know, those generations where it will be great to have a Hispanic that has a Hispanic root, but they speak English because that's going to be the norm, you know. Because of our, like my kids, their first language is English. So I know at some point they're gonna have the need to have full English church, you know. So but hopefully we can have those churches too, where it's like they speak English, but they have the Hispanic root in there, and they're welcoming other cultures and things like that. So I'm looking forward for those kind of opportunities.
Yeah, you mentioned, 5 years ago, we didn't have any of these Congolese or Ethiopian churches, and now they're growing really rapidly. And I can't remember the stat, but there's the researchers have found that the U.S. will be a majority minority culture within it. I mean, it's not very far away that the U.S. culture is going to look a lot different. So I think that's wise for you to be looking ahead that way. That's great.
Yeah. Like I say, as people come to the United States, I mean, from other nations, it's like the nations are coming to us, and so we need to be ready. Back in the day, you know, when I was a kid, I always hear like missionaries, they're going to Africa and they're going to Asia and they're going to Europe, and now it's like people is coming back to the United States, and so, you know, if you want to be a missionary, you only need to go walk outside and you're gonna find other cultures. So
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great. I love that perspective. That's so good.
Yeah.
Well, Daniel, as we kind of begin to wrap up here, I'm just curious, for those of us who don't know the Central District very well, what stories have you heard recently as you're kind of getting to know the pastors and getting to know the area churches? What are you excited about? Looking down the road, where do you hope things will be in a few years? Like what kind of motivates you to kind of keep this thing rolling?
Yeah. So I heard from a lot of our pastors, you know, that passion to reach the lost. And I think that's one of the good things about COVID, that because we were so isolated and we didn't talk to anybody, all of the sudden people is realizing that we have this freedom to go out there and talk to people.
Yeah.
And so I have heard a lot of the stories from the churches, like we're putting something together for outreach. So that word outreach, meaning we want to reach our neighbors. We want to reach our community. We want to be out there with the people and introduce them to Jesus. So that's something that really excites me, because that's what we need. We are called to make disciples, right? So we want churches that churches of disciples that make disciples, right? So I have heard those conversations. So that's something that really excites me, even within the small church, willing to reach the community, willing to go out there and talk to people and bringing them to Jesus. That's something that really excites me. And we're trying to support those churches and create ways that we can come alongside those churches and make sure that they're doing that. I think one really cool story just happened this summer here in Omaha. So we have 4 churches here in Omaha, and two English speaking and 2 Spanish speaking. But during the summer, we had a Stony Brook Church with Pastor John, and they did BVS at their church, and he realized that Faith Bible, they weren't going to have a BVS, and so he was wondering why. And he's like, well, maybe they don't have the resources, they don't have the people, so they come and they help each other to have this BVS. And then they call me and say, well, we have a lot of Hispanics in the area. Can you send some of our Viva people to Faith Bible so we can, like the 3 churches, we can do BBS together. So he ended up being the 4 Omaha churches in one location doing BBS. And I think they ended up with like 80 kids for that week. So those kind of things, we are family and we can help each other. And even if maybe you're lacking volunteers, and if we can send some people to help you with an outreach event, we can do that. Or we can help you with the resources and just make it happen. We can do those kind of things. So that outreach and community and fellowship within churches, that's something that I'm really excited about seeing more of that happening in the Central District. So I can just think of those stories, but that's what I've seen so far, and I'm sure there are other many great stories. As I visit more, I know I'm gonna have more, but I think for now that's something that I'm really passionate about: outreach and sharing the gospel. And I see that in churches as their key goal for the coming years, and so I think that's great.
I love the stories of churches working together, right? Like that should be the norm for us to do that more often. So that's very cool.
Yeah.
Okay, and kind of last question to start wrapping up here, Daniel. So especially since you are kind of newer in your role, do you have any needs that the rest of us in the USMB family maybe could provide something for you? What prayer requests do you have, or what else do you kind of want everyone listening today? What else can we do for you? What do you want us to know? Any kind of closing thoughts?
Yeah. I always ask the people everywhere I go, just keep praying for us. Wisdom, that's something that we're always praying. I don't pretend to know everything. But I know God knows. So wisdom, sometimes you don't even know what to say, but God does, and so the ability to have that wisdom from God to be able to encourage our pastors, encourage our family, the people in the churches and things like that. So if you guys can just pray for that and pray for my family, as we, like I said, we have, so I have a 13-year-old boy and a 9-year-old daughter. And so they're still public school, and so sometimes they're gonna do some of the traveling with me, and sometimes they're just gonna stay home. And so just pray for that balance of family time and ministry time and those kind of things. So far it's been great. Even my kids, they're really supportive of what I do, especially my older son. When we ask him, what do you think about me applying for this position, and we wanted him to be part of the conversation, and he was supportive, and he's been doing great with that. So I guess those 2 things is, if you guys can be praying for that, that'll be great.
Awesome. Well, Daniel, it's been such an honor to get to know you a little bit better, and I'm excited for you and your leadership. You're going to do a great job. I'm excited to see what comes out of the Central District. So
thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thanks for stepping into this role. We'll look forward to hearing more stories down the road.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time today.
All right. Bye.
What would it feel like for you to be living at your full potential?
What if you were regularly connecting with someone who accepts you unconditionally, believes in and affirms your potential, actively listens to you, and keeps you accountable to help you reach your goals? A life coach will get you there. Coaching is an intentional one-on-one relationship that empowers people to realize their full potential in personal living and vocational accomplishment. Lead coaching is facilitated by trained MB coaches who serve as a life-on-life coach and is available to pastors, leaders, and anyone. To learn more, visit www.usmb.org/lead coaching or call Ed Boschman at 661-549-6021.
Well, like I said, I'm excited to see what comes out of the Central District under Daniel's leadership. I really appreciate his heart for ministry, his heart for the nations, and just for the heart for that district. And I just can't wait to see the good things that come out of there. So many thanks to Daniel, and let's be praying for him, as he mentioned there right at the closing, for him and his family as he settles in this role. I'm really excited to see. I think good things are ahead for him in that position. Once again, thank you so much for listening today and all year long. We've had some really great guests on the podcast this year. We've been doing this thing for 2 years now, and I'm just so grateful that I get a chance to do this show and hang out with you a couple times a month. And so thank you so much for listening. Now that we're in the thick of the Christmas season, I'm sure many of you listening are really busy cranking out sermons and worship playlists and whatever else you need to do for your Christmas services. So I hope you have a really great Christmas season. Spend some time relaxing with your family as well. And we look forward to sharing some great episodes with you in the new year. So have a great couple weeks, and we'll see you in 2023.
Thanks for listening to Lead Pods. Make sure you don't miss an episode by subscribing to our show wherever you're listening today. Learn more by visiting usmb.org, and be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We'll see you next time as we learn more practical tools to increase our impact together.